Hello there, all you cool cats and kittens. How often do we not want to have to hear that for the next 4 months, right? But we're going to hear it, so that's why I used it. Um, I had a chapter, it was chapter 8 with Emily and Alan. We all three did our chapter and came up with a lot of things that we found similar. It was about creativity, your disposition of being creative in class, and making class an enjoyable thing for the students so they can not come in dreading what they're getting ready to learn. So we all agreed. I'm going to try to get everybody together and separate us out a little bit, but we all agreed to not be monotone, use multiple devices, right? The chapter talks about using multiple devices. You got to make your learning fun. You got to have different activities, different settings that other people don't have. You got to be personable. Use games, right? I'm huge with games. I love doing games because the kids, they connect in today's day and age using games, right? They love to play games and they love to compete, right? Alan talked about how he hasn't taught yet, but he says that his kid, when he was in school, that they love to compete against other people and they love to compete against other grades. So bring that out in them, especially in today's day and age where they play online competition games anyway. You got to be modern. Look, we can't talk about record players anymore because record players are not something these kids are going to relate to. We have to be modern with what these kids are currently using, and then we can refer to them if you want to be fun and make fun of yourself and kind of self-deprecating. I think that's a good thing to refer to things that we used to do because I love telling stories. I think Emily and Alan both agreed telling stories and being a person that can make fun of yourself is a fun thing to do. That way, the kids don't take you too seriously. At the same point in time, they have to take you seriously because you're the teacher. But it's one of those things that really helps. Enthusiasm. Alan said it best. He referred to something that I wrote. Enthusiasm is something that you can't fake, right? You can get up and be chipper and all these things, but students understand if we don't like our craft. They understand if we don't like the class we're teaching. They see it, right? So they have to think that or they have to know, I should say, that we like what we're doing. And if they see that, then it's going to rub off on them. It doesn't mean they're going to be perfect, but it means that they're going to understand that we're serious about what we like to do. Being upbeat and positive, that's kind of the way I live my life, especially in today's day and age where we're living in a house, right? And we can't go outside. And then love your job, right? I love my job. I love what I do, love what you're teaching, and love what you're doing. So a little bit, Emily wrote back to me. Emily and myself, we like to use vocabulary as a daily experience. I think using your vocabulary every day, right? If you're going to teach them vocabulary, why would you not integrate that into what you're saying? It just makes sense. And then real world applications of what people are actually doing with your stuff, right? Just because we're saying, "Hey, do this," how is it going to affect their life? Because we've all heard kids say, "Hey, how is this going to do something for me later? I don't need this." And the bottom line is, I can make a case for every subject that everybody I've seen that what they teach, how it is going to impact your life, whether it's calculus, math, or social studies. It's going to help you. Emily also agreed with humor. She likes to use humor. I like to use humor. She has a skeleton. She teaches I think it's anatomy and basically the parts of the body. If she has a skeleton, she lets her kids dress up, and they like to have a lot of fun with that. Humor is great because, again, these kids are silly anyway, and if you try to be too strict, they're going to think that you're just a downer all the time. A thing that I love to do, inside jokes, right? I love inside jokes in between each class, right? Because then they can take ownership in the class and they come in, they say something that nobody else knows, things like that. I'm really big on having our own individual class has their own kind of joke that we do or something that's funny that nobody else gets. And it really makes them feel part of something that's not something that everybody gets to be a part of, right? So I'm big on that. And it just helps you everybody take ownership in each individual class, and it helps me, right? I find that it helps me, and I think Emily will probably agree it helps her. Alan, when you start teaching, you're going to see all these little things too. It didn't take me long to find out that people want to belong, right? So that's just kind of what the kids want to do. Like I said, Emily teaches CTE body systems. Her vocabulary is key. She things like just the word anterior. It means front. So why wouldn't you use it in place of the word front sometimes, right? I do the same thing with modification and refinement and all these different things. I use them in place of the simple words that kids would normally use because it reinforces that that is something that they're going to use in their life. Positivity, we talked about that. Emily said positivity is key. Make it fun, and that's just what it has to be. School has to be fun. It doesn't have to always be fun, but it has to be fun. Um, Telling stories. Oh, you're probably seeing right now that I'm long-winded. And talking to Emily and Alan, they both had very long paragraphs of things that they wrote back to me. Telling stories is a great way to connect, to have kids understand that you've done what they're doing and you've been there. And it also gives them a chance to share with you what they're doing that's different than you, right? We're building relationships. This whole thing is always about building relationships, and I think we all agree that this is about building a relationship. So talking about Alan, Alan hasn't done this, hasn't had a class before, so he's got to learn some of these things, and these are things that for me and Emily I think agrees that we didn't get to do. Nobody told me anything when I stepped in the class about, hey, this is how it's going to be. So it's kind of a great resource for everybody that hasn't done a class, that you constantly have to get kids to identify with you, and you have to identify with kids, and you have to understand each other because you don't know what they went through the morning that they got to you, and they don't know what you're going through, right? So students can identify with teachers who don't care about their craft. Students understand. When we come in, students will find out quick. They know it. They'll look you straight in the eye and go, I don't care about what I'm doing. And they'll say, you don't want to do that. You want to be the person that students can't tell if you care or do care, or they don't know what you're thinking, right? So they can quickly identify. Um, so you kind of have to always be on, right? It's a big thing to be on, and it helps with engagement. Addition of games, I thought this was really cool. Alan says that he really wants to incorporate games and competitions. I think that's a big thing. I think kids want to compete with each other, and then if you compete, it makes you kind of want to be better, right? Not everybody can win, but you kind of have the want to be better, which means the next time you want to be better and better and better. And the more we can incorporate things like that, and creative games, obviously games that mean something to them. And then connecting, we have to, when it all comes down, we have to connect with our students. They have to care about what we are saying. It's just the bottom line, right? So all of these different things are creative ways of making them connect with us. And then guess what? It also helps to find out who won't connect with you. So you have to figure out how to continuously improve for the next group or that kid, right? Because we don't have all the answers. So we have to figure out what we aren't doing right, right? Because if everything we do right is right all the time, then we're going to have a problem with the one that's the outlier. We have to understand that we have to continuously improve. So connecting is key, right? And then connecting our lives to their lives, which means that we understand what they're talking about. We've been there and making them understand that. This was very long-winded. It's 8 minutes and probably 28 seconds by the time I'm done. I appreciate everybody. Please be safe. Coronavirus 2020. Be careful. Thank you. Please let me know if you have any comments. Emily and Alan, thank you very much for your input. I hope I didn't go too long, and I hope what I just said was good. We kind of talked back and forth, but I just want to make sure that everybody agrees what I just said. I appreciate everybody. Thank you. Be careful.